What's going on, everybody? Gamer King Tar Heel here, and we've got our first little opening salvo of Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance for the Nintendo 3DS. This is kind of exciting to me, as this is my first, big 3DS release since I started covering it on my channel. So I'm actually pretty excited about that. Hopefully, it'll get some support and some viewership from the 3DS side of things. Get a lot of views on the Vita side, to build up the mobile gaming. But the other thing about this is I'm actually kind of flying blind. I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game. So if you've ever watched the television series and like jumped in on the second season, or watched maybe the sequel of a movie, maybe watched the Two Towers or the Godfather 2 before the Godfather 1, you kind of know how I'm feeling, where you can the story is making sense in a kind of convoluted way, where you're kind of just going with the motions, like okay, and then all of a sudden you're like, there's a callback to something that you don't know what the callback is, and you're completely baffled. And that beginning scene that we just watched, where he's like, I'm not so and so, I'm so and so. Yeah, I it makes no difference to me who you are. I have no clue who you are. I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. So I'm assuming that is supposed to mean something to me. That name that begins with an A is supposed to mean something to me. He's supposed to be, something, maybe a bad character at some point that we're supposed to go through. So I'm not sure about that. So hopefully I will learn as I follow along. I was told that I don't really need to know the former story for Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I don't know those. So I did actually read, IGN had an article of what you need to know for Kingdom Hearts 3Ds if you did not play Kingdom Hearts. And so I actually read that article. I don't recall too much about it, but I'm just going to wing through the story and see where we go. And as long as you guys respond to this video, as long as you guys, like this video and interact, I'll keep posting these videos, and we can go through and we can play Kingdom Hearts. So here we're going up against Ursula, and this is essentially a combat tutorial. It's going to show you how to block, how to do all the little things. I skipped the tutorial. We go right to the actual battle, but it essentially teaches you how to block, teaches you how to attack, all the different things. And that's 2 points I want to touch on. The combat in this game is completely different than I thought it was. I thought this was, going to be a turn-based, JRPG, Final Fantasy type, turn-based combat type game, which I was actually really looking forward to. I've been playing a lot of Bowser's Inside Story on my 3DS, and I love, turn-based games. Those are really my forte. But this is completely different, but that doesn't make it worse. I've actually really enjoyed it. The combat in the game is absolutely dynamic. It goes from very, very fast pace of doing just regular attack combos to using your spells, your blizzards, your fires, all these other things, and then you're going to get a pet or a spirit and combining your attacks with the spirit. And then there's going to be a bunch of different things, like a flow motion attack and other things where you can pick up objects and throw them at your opponent. So there's a bunch of different dynamics in the combat that so far, just a few hours into the game, I thought were really, really impressive. Another thing I want to mention is this is a really good looking game for the Nintendo 3DS. As you can probably see from the graphics, my camera takes away a little bit of it, but it's a really beautiful looking game. And there is some pretty big slowdown when you're doing some of the big heavy maneuvers and stuff like that. When you're doing some of the flow motion attacks, there is a little bit of slowdown, but it's not really that big a deal. In this game, and in 3D, I'm a big 3D player. I know a lot of people, they have the 3DS and they turn off the 3D. They don't use it. It hurts their head. I understand that if it's giving you a headache and stuff like that, you don't really want to play it. But I play almost all my 3D games in 3D. I love the 3D feature of it. I feel it makes it look all the more expansive. And this is the best looking 3D game that there is out there. When you're going through some of the stuff in 3D, it really, really pops. You can feel the 3D, in almost every aspect of the game. They did a really good job integrating the 3D, not necessarily in like a puzzle or, the way the game operates, like the way Super Mario 3D Land, kind of uses the 3D actually in the gameplay. But this game uses it in a graphical way with this, the stylized visuals and the cartoony art visuals, that the game looks really spectacular in 3D. So we just dispatched with Ursula, really no problem. It was just a show fight to actually show how you actually fight. And now we're going to, we're stuck on a raft. I don't know how we got there, but we're actually going to go through a flashback where they're going to talk about how we're going to be tested. Some guy who looks like a wizard in a wizard hat. This is going to be my first look at the Disney characters in the, the Square Enix world of Kingdom Hearts. They're going to be kind of standing there in the corner. They don't actually say anything. But, it is, that first time you see the Disney characters, it is a little bit exciting. but they're going to talk about how we need to be tested, which is, I'm assuming these are the characters when doing my backstory, that these were the characters from the previous Kingdom Hearts game. So you kind of know how they've been tested. They've gone through 2 full games, but this is a side score. I actually have a friend of mine at work who was, I told him, hey, I'm gonna get Kingdom Hearts for the 3DS, and he's like, and he was pretty upset. He was like, I want Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm tired of these side stories. I'm tired of this nonsense. Why won't they get to Kingdom Hearts 3? And I checked on, I do a lot of research when I do games like this. So I checked on a little bit of research, and there's a lot of people who are just they want 3. They want Kingdom Hearts 3, and Square Enix has a very long history of doing what they want to do and not giving in to fan pressure. Fan pressure has been building up forever for a Final Fantasy VII remake. People just want Final Fantasy VII. They want it remade. They saw like a little tech demo of it. It had to be 5 years ago now, and they want Final Fantasy VII. And Square Enix, they're not going to give it, no matter how much money it would make. They want to put their resources into other stuff, and they feel that that's what they want to do, and it's their company. They can do that all they want to, and they're you have to kind of admire that a little bit. Not necessarily not giving the fans what they want, but not doing the easy cash-ins, not doing the big time cash-ins that a lot of companies do. They're making their games that they want to make in the order that they want to make them, regardless of all the fan pressure that's out there. And here we have a great look at the Disney characters. Just right there, this would have Mickey and Goofy and all them. And so this is the guy who's explaining to us that we need to be tested, and this is a flashback. So I'm assuming that's the way they're telling the story. We were on the beach somehow, and now we're flashing back to a previous point where we're going to go through and be tested. And the one guy, he feels like, hey, I'm ready, I can take on anything. Another guy talks about he's got some trouble in his heart, he's a little iffy there. So we're going to go through and we're going to test it. And as I've been playing through the game, you play through both characters separately so far. You drop in and out, and he's explaining about the Keyblade and some of the other enemies. But I'm not going to get too much into what I found out. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. This is, just the first 10 minutes from here on out. But essentially, they're going through and explaining how we're going to go on a trial and how we're going to get, to our next destination. And we're actually going to get to go through a little flying area here in a little bit, which I actually found to be quite cool. And here, he's upset. He said he's already proven myself. This is, and him and Riku can go through and take on anything, and this is where Riku confesses that he shows his little sword and he has the dark heart, and he's not sure, and he does seem a bit brooding, the brooding male type, where the other guy's the happy-go-lucky kid. I'm just down for anything. So they actually work as a pretty good tandem in that way. They're they're not the same character, they're not always on the same page, and they're going through the test to find the key bearer. Overall, though, if you're looking for impressions of Kingdom Hearts, if you're thinking about picking it up, if you're familiar with the series, I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you've got a background, if you're not familiar with the series, you might feel a little uncomfortable, as I was, on going through exactly every little thing and knowing exactly what's going on. If you're not comfortable with the fact of missing certain aspects of it, then you might not feel too comfortable. But I've been really impressed. Graphically, it is the best looking game that I've seen on the 3DS, regardless of the slowdown. And here we're going to go through a really cool diving type mini game. This is where you go through and you have to collect coins and get a certain score that you can get gold, or you can get silver or bronze going through and collecting these stars and collecting these points. And in the 3D mode, this actually looks really cool. It is pretty impressive on the 3D. And as I said, this is the best looking 3DS game that I've played so far personally. Even better than Super Mario 3D Land, which was probably the best. I haven't played every 3DS game, but to me it is one of the best looking 3DS games. And the combat has also impressed me as well. Going through in the deeper combat, once you go through all the tutorials, there's a lot of dynamic ability in the combat. You go through and you're able to just do all sorts of different things. You don't have to fight every enemy the same way. You don't have to fight every little thing the exact same way. There's a lot of different ways to do it. It's not just the turn-based strategy that I was looking forward to, but it's also very, very different. So it really just makes me want a Kingdom Hearts HD collection, so I can go through and really experience these games in HD glory. So hopefully Square will come around to that But we're going to go ahead and end the first 10 minutes of the video here. We go through and we get our gold on this flying game. We get the gold medal and collect all the stars. And we're going to go ahead and end it here. Like I said, if you guys support these videos, you guys hit those like buttons, and you guys leave comments, I'll keep making them as long as you guys keep watching them. And that's it. I should post another one hopefully later today. And that's it, guys. Take care. Bye.